God's blessings to you this Memorial Day. I'm Pastor Kevin from Farmington Lutheran Church. On this Memorial Day, my invitation for you is to do three things. The first one is to focus on what this day is about. I invite you to take time, whether it's at home, whether it's at the Veterans Memorial in town, or whether it's at a cemetery, wherever it may be. I invite you to take time and to give thanks for those men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice of giving their lives, that you and I have the liberties and freedoms that we get to live in each and every day in this country. I also invite you to say a word of thanks to those who are living. Give a word of thanks to those veterans, to those who are serving in active duty and their families. Give them thanks for the sacrifices that they have made and continue to make today. I also want you to tell some of your own story. I want to share with you a gift that was given to me, a story, a better understanding that I have from a Marine named Buzz Christensen. And some folks say, oh, you mean he's a former Marine? And Buzz and others have taught me, no, once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. Buzz is the one who taught me that in the Marine Corps, for over 100 years, they lived by the motto, Semper Fidelis. And those two Latin words mean always faithful. And any Marine would let you know that Semper Fi isn't just a simple motto, but it is a way of life. Semper Fi, always faithful. It means to remain faithful to the mission at hand and to remain faithful to each other. In the history of the Marine Corps, no Marine has ever knowingly been left behind on a battlefield. There's always someone who has your back. The Marines describe Semper Fi as a bond that they have that they just can't get rid of. It becomes part of who they are. Semper Fi, always faithful, it's a way of life. The Marine extends to every aspect of who they are, their family, their friendships, all their relationships and networks. Semper Fi, always faithful. And Semper Fi has folks doing things beyond themselves, has doing something that they don't even think about. They can find themselves reaching farther than they ever imagined. And I think of that on this weekend, that we see Christ's love in our veterans. We see Christ's love in those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. I think of those words, Jesus saying, no greater love than this, than one who lays down his life for his friends. A Marine shared with me this story from one of his tours in Vietnam. So that as they were patrolling, he sent two Marines to be on FO, that's forward observation. And as they came into a clearing, the two young Marines drew heavy gunfire from three different positions. And immediately they were hit, and it sent them to the ground. He said, without even thinking, he threw off his gear, and he ran into that opening, and there's rounds flying everywhere. He remembers just praying quick, Lord, protect me. And he reaches and he grabs those two Marines, and he begins to drag them backwards. And he said, before I even got 10 yards, there was four other Marines who joined in doing the exact same thing. So we drew heavy gunfire from three different machine guns. And he tells that story and says, on that day, we all survived, even when it seemed like it wasn't even possible. And he shares that story about Semper Fi, Semper Fidelis, always faithful, not as a history lesson about the Marine Corps. It's wonderful in that way as well. But he says, in all the ups and downs in life, and all the losses of life he experienced in Vietnam, all the head-scratching questions that he lives with, and the ups and downs in it all, he points to God and says, God is my ultimate Semper Fi. God is ultimately, the one we know in Jesus, is the one who's truly always faithful. That's my hope for you, that in the midst of your hopes, your fears, everything that you have this Memorial Day weekend, in the time and of hopefully giving thanks for others and what they have done, I hope that you also know the ultimate Semper Fi, the ultimate love of God that for you, you can trust is always faithful. I think of the words on my parents' headstone, a word that some of you share at the end of a table prayer. It's a word from Scripture that says, let us give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, and his steadfast love endures forever. I invite you again this week to go ahead and to give thanks for those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, to reach out and to give thanks to our veterans and to those who are serving in active duty and to their families. And would you also go ahead and tell others your story through the ups and downs, through all that you are, through all that you've experienced, how God has been your Semper Fi, your ultimate one who is always faithful. God's blessings to you this Memorial Day.